Well, hello. And here we are on another Friday and another little bit of positive balance in an uncertain world with Therapy Ted and myself. Um, Today's balance is it's a much more physical balance. And I've seen that quite a lot with clients this week as well. Um, that we seem to be focusing much more on the virus, on a physical side of the body rather than looking more at the emotional side of things and the fears and everything that people have had. So that's quite an interesting turn of events. So we have a quantum kinesiology balance again. We have the cosbats are going to be on the solar plexus chakra. Now, this is to do with the immune system, but it's also to do with our self esteem. So, it's to do with what we think about ourselves and our sort of place in the world. The first harmonic is an original trigger, and this is virus. And this can be any viruses. It can be anything that you've had over the course of your life, or it can be the current coronavirus, obviously. We then go on to repair damaged cells. Now, all of us have damaged cells in the body. The older you get, the more damage you have. The way the body replicates itself is really clever. It sort of basically splits your DNA and then replicates it. And you've got a piece of a bit of programming in there which actually checks that the replication is identical. I like to think of it a bit like a little chap with a clipboard, and he's just there going, no, that's not right. And if it's not right, then basically the body destroys the replication and has another go. Now, unfortunately, if the body is fighting too many fires and there isn't enough nutrition to go around, there aren't enough little men with clipboards around. So a cell can replicate itself with a fault. Now, the next time that cell replicates, if by now we've actually got enough men with clipboards, he will come along and he will check the replication. But because he's only checking what's there, he doesn't know that there's been a fault. So he will allow that replication to go unchallenged, even though there's a fault in there. And that, unfortunately, over time can create problems health-wise in our bodies. So it's always good to try and maintain as much calm as possible, to make sure that you eat well and you drink plenty of water. And if you feel like you're a little bit more stressed, then probably this is the time to make sure your diet is really quite clean. Sorry, those people, I know we're heading into Easter and a lot more chocolate going around. Delicious though that is, it's not great for the body, all that sugar. And probably take some supplements, at least a good quality multivitamin and mineral supplement. So we've got repair damaged cells, get them back to how they were, which would be nice. We've also then got rehydrate cells. So I think maybe we're not drinking quite enough water at the moment. So sadly, tea and coffee don't quite cut the mustard. Yes, there is water in that, but unfortunately, there's also chemicals which the body requires water to deal with. So they kind of negate each other. And depending on how strong you like your coffee or your tea, it may actually even require more water than you've consumed with the drink. So try and make sure you have at least sort of 6 glasses of just ordinary water a day. Now that can also be herbal fruits and herbal teas and fruit teas, things like that. And it can be obviously there's water in fruits and vegetables and things like that, so you get a little bit of water from there as well. But probably a good idea just to make sure that your intake of water is good, especially as our lungs like water. They like to be hydrated, and the coronavirus, of course, as we know, attacks the lungs. So let's keep the lungs in as good a condition as possible. So we're going to rehydrate cells. We're then going to detox viruses. So again, this can be any virus that you've had over the course of your life, because all of these viruses are still sort of lurking around. Viruses are not like bacteria. They don't die. They just kind of go dormant. And depending on where they go dormant can create problems later in life. So we actually do need to kind of try and keep the body in as good a condition as possible. And then those viruses remain dormant and they can't kind of come back to kind of bite us on the bum when we're feeling maybe a little bit low. So, I mean, all of us, I think, have had something come back. We think we've got rid of it and then we kind of get it back again. And it's because we've probably not been taking enough care of ourselves. Then we've got detox childhood viruses. This is actually a new harmonic, and interesting that one is very specific about childhood viruses, and again goes back into what I've just been saying, that we don't ever really get rid of a virus. It just goes dormant in the body, and hopefully then we keep our body in really good condition, our immune system really good, and then the virus stays dormant for the rest of our lives. Anybody who has herpes simplex virus knows that if they get a little bit under the weather, then they've got a chance of getting cold sores back again. So, and then finally, we've got heal excessive gut permeability. So again, when we're a bit stressed, we tend not to digest our food as well, and that then can then cause problems with the gut, because if we are consuming food, it's not being digested well, it gets down into the small intestine in slightly larger particles than it should be, and then this can create irritation, which can then mean that the gut becomes more permeable. Stuff can get back into the body, which then creates an irritation in the body, and then you get the body having to react to that. So again, if you're feeling stressed, probably best not to eat. Calm yourself down before you actually eat something and really focus on what you're eating. Make sure you chew it well before you swallow. So that's this balance. There's nothing else for this balance. So Therapy Ted has it here and he's good to go. Okay, so while he's working, I've had a little thought about, what's made me laugh today or the last couple of days. And one of the things that came through on one of my, I think it was WhatsApp group, was about a BBC sports commentator who obviously is really missing not being able to commentate on his different sports he commentates on. So he's now commentating on the battles between his two dogs. Just the article made me laugh. So, and there are some video clips as well. Apparently it's gone viral. So probably that's something that would be worth having a little look at. If you want to make you, it might not make you laugh. It certainly made me laugh anyway. And the other thing which I thought was really clever was a video of a young gentleman sat in a plane, or apparently in a plane, sort of flying, with lovely music. Of course, none of us are flying anywhere at the moment, and won't be for some foreseeable future. But I'm not going to tell you what happened, but if you want to go and have a look at it, I think it was very clever. I had definitely had to go and watch it again just to see how it had been done. Really, really clever. And then I also want to talk a little bit today about finding the silver lining. This is very different for all of us who are not working. Obviously, for those of people who are still working, it may be very similar to their normal life. But for the rest of us, we are having to find a new way of being. And I think that for all of us, it will be much better for us long term if we take a slightly, what they call a Pollyanna view, which is you look for the silver lining in every cloud, because there is always something there that you can see that will be a positive. Sometimes it's very hard to see that at the time, but it's always worth trying to get into that mindset of being a little bit more positive. So, look at what's made you laugh or what you've actually really enjoyed. Today's been quite a nice day. I've really enjoyed the fact that I've got back into reading a couple of whodunits. So I finished one. I'm now starting on the next one. I have reread these, but so long ago. These are rereadings. I read them a long time ago. It's a detective I particularly like, a Victorian detective, and but I can't remember who did it. So that's quite good. So, but I do remember the characters that are in this series of books, and I particularly like them. So that's really been very, very good. The fact I've been able to sit outside this afternoon, if I'd been working, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So I think there are quite a lot of positives going on amongst all of the negatives. Again, last night we had the applause for the NHS. And I like to think it's not just the NHS either, it's everybody who's working so hard to keep us safe and to keep our lives going on as much as possible. All the supermarket staff, our delivery drivers, our bin men, the carers, hospital porters, anybody who is actually putting themselves out there, still doing their job, at more risk to themselves, so the rest of us can actually stay at home and stay safe, but still have food on our tables and the bits and pieces that we would like around us. So I think, be very thankful for everybody that is working so hard in this situation, and send them lots of love or kindness and compassion for where they are and what they're doing. Well, Therapy Ted has just come to the end of this one. So hopefully all of us will feel a little bit better, a little bit more grounded. And if you have had some more disturbance with your digestive system, I know quite a few clients who have digestive issues have noticed a flare up in the last week or so, then hopefully this will help calm that down. But again, just keep everything nice and calm. Focus on some deep breathing, because that will really help. If you're feeling kind of a little bit stressed, just go in, just focus on that breath going in and out. Remember what I said in an earlier video, your body has an automatic reaction to deep breathing, which calms it down.